Welcome to God's Way, YTVY. I'm Adolphina Shephard, and this is my co-host Thomas Knight, Templar.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our show.
We have a quite fascinating subject for you folks tonight. We're going to be talking about near-death experiences, and we have some people here who have experienced it. So, let me introduce our guest. We'll start with Christine, since she's always with the program. This is Christine Schiavone.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about yourself for the people
Okay.
that don't know you.
Well, I'm also a producer here at CTV, and I produce a show called Spiritual Exploration, which is on Friday night at 10 o'clock on channel 35 Fios and 79 Spectrum. As far as our subject is concerned, I've read a lot about it.
Okay.
So I could talk a little about some of the things I've read.
Oh, good.
I probably could choke you now.
I'll let you know when I get back.
Okay. All right. Tell me how the trip was.
And then we have Joe Lani here. Now, he's going to tell you a little bit about himself. So go ahead, Joe. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
I'm a native Staten Islander. I went on the police department, retired after 20 years after the World Trade Center, and had several things happen to me when I retired and as a child. And I now practice as a survival evidence medium.
Okay. Did you, was that the reason why you retired?
I retired because I had a heart attack up at the landfill at Fresh Kills.
Okay.
So once I had the heart attack, then I was
Okay.
off the job.
Off the job.
And that's when you had the near-death experience?
I had, when I was taken to the hospital,
Yeah.
the doctor had told my wife, he's one of the most critically ill patients in the hospital, and he may not survive
Ooh.
the night. So, which I thought was, I remembered hearing that. I was conscious, and I was like, that's not
When
gonna
you got
happen."
better, did you go break that doctor's leg?
I d-
Who would have been thought, you know?
Yeah, and they took me up to cardiac care,
Okay.
and I had my what they call a transcendental near-death experience,
Okay.
which is
You
the
left the body.
visit. Well, it's the visit of past relatives
Yeah, yeah.
and/or religious figures. So I had my uncle sitting on the end of my bed, and I woke up. I saw him with his head down. And then when my wife and my mother came up to see me the following day, I said Uncle Charlie was here. And as soon as I said it, Uncle Charlie had died in 1987.
Okay.
So, and then things happened throughout the years that I learned. Being a medium, I knew that I had a couple of heart attacks that I actually went over, and now I'm back, and I could kind of dip into both sides.
Were they heart attacks that were registered as heart attacks? Or
So I had a what they call the widowmaker. The,
oh, boy. Yeah, that's a good one.
total blockage of the LAD artery.
Yeah. What did they do? Open heart and all that stuff?
No, at that point, no surgery. They I was just treated medically.
Yeah.
I rebounded great, and then not until years later that I had open heart surgery, unrelated to the heart attack, and that's another story.
That's enough to kill you.
That's enough to kill you.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, I've known through the course of my life, I've been told by 4 or 5 different people how they also had a near-death experience. And a couple of them, they were quite a few times for one reason or another. And what I learned at that time is that everybody that crosses to the other side comes back with a taste of heaven, and it opens their gifts.
Opens the gifts,
Did
and it also purifies whatever they had here, earthbound. They go over to the other side to come back without it. You know, so you can come back. You may be. I know a lot of people that went over across to the other side. They had cancer. They came back. They had no more cancer.
Wow.
Like that.
That's
As
amazing.
a matter of fact, there's a book out there by Anita Majani calling "Dying to Be Me." And it's a very good book. You should all get it. And you know, it's a very good read. And that happened to her. She had millions of cancer cells. She crossed over. She met family members and everything else like that. They sent her back. The next day, she had nothing, not a thing.
Wow, that's amazing.
You know, so it's a good story. You know, a lot of near-death experiences people have, like when you had yours. did you have we were talking earlier about, the tunnel and seeing relatives and,
No.
no.
Mine was like I said, what they call a transcendental. So there's
Okay.
specific categories of near-death
Oh, near
experiences.
death, yeah.
Some people see the tunnel, some people wish through the tunnel, and then they see, past relatives, and, they're told they're gonna go back.
Yeah.
Everybody has a different,
See, I didn't see the tunnel. I refused to pay that toll. So,
Right.
what?
I don't know, Tommy, just the way you said that.
$15, Anyway, no.
Okay.
The first experience that I had, I was, like I was telling you earlier, I was choking in the only blimpie left in the world. And it was on 13th Avenue, right by Sirico's. And I don't know why, something just told me, sit inside and eat. Took one bite, and they were just beating the hell out of me, trying to get it out, wouldn't come out. I started to black out, and I told you, the one thing I heard in my head, please don't let me die like Mama Cass Elliot. And I know who said that.
Yeah, you're a funny guy, right?
One of my guides, right? And next thing I know, I woke up, this big guy popped it out, and he was in the back, and I survived that. And at that time, I was leaving the following day to go to Florida for my brother's funeral.
Whoa.
So, can you imagine that? It would have been 2 in a match.
Oh, my
Wow.
God.
And so,
Oh, my God.
yeah, it would have been messed up.
Sure would.
The second time, I was in my kitchen just recently. The guys were working outside, the city workers, they had the guys doing the sidewalks when they were all cracked and
Right.
broke. And they were doing from my neighbor's house to the corner. And my daughter says to me, Dad, you want to have some eggs and some toast? I said, oh, sure. I had that. I was going out. Next thing you know, got lodged in my throat. First bite, like the last time. But it was in front of my grandson, and it was in front of my daughter, who was panicking. And she's slapping. She's trying. I mean, she's a big girl, but she couldn't get me off the ground. Right? And she's pumping. Finally, I had the presence of mind knowing that they're working in the street. I made it to the front door, and my daughter's screaming. They came running over. And the guy came over, and he popped it out, and it came out. And needless to say, I thank those guys profusely. I sent them lunch. I did everything for them. But to this day now, I don't eat toast.
oh, really?
No. If I go have my eggs, I have it with a pita.
Right.
'Cause I don't want to get lodged in
That's
there.
why you eat the pita.
That's why I eat the pita bread.
Okay.
Right.
Think I eat it because I like it? Well, I do like it. But, Anyway.
I didn't know that story or the other one.
How
That's
could you not know? I
interesting.
told you 3 times.
If you told me, it went zing.
I can imagine. Okay?
All the stuff I'm going through, right?
Yeah, this side here, you have to put the cork so it stays
Yeah, you
inside.
put the cork in, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You know, I was telling Tommy, I was told, because I'm a spiritual, so much, warrior for starters, but that I had crossed over 6 times. And several times Archangel Michael brought me back. Several times Jesus brought me back. And Horace brought me back one time. And just recently, who was it that brought me back? Mother Mary. Because...
I thought UPS.
No, UPS.
They keep trying to get rid of you, huh?
Oh my God, you can't even believe some of the things I've been through spiritually, the things that I had to learn. It was really to bring me into my own power, but also if they could have, they would have killed me.
We discuss this 4 or 5 times a day.
Yeah.
This happened to me. What do you think?
Yeah. So, but anyway, I don't ever remember going through a tunnel, but I do remember waking up feeling like death warmed over and like, somebody bring me some coffee. That's what I think. Somebody bring me some coffee, or whatever. But overcame it. But there's been times like that, But I do know my husband crossed over in August. And he has come to me. I mean, I talk to him, but he comes and sits on my bed in the middle of the night so that my mind's quiet,
Right.
And he'll talk to me about whatever the issue is. So I resonate with that, with your uncle coming, because that happens. I have beings come visit me. They sit down, they
Oh,
talk
sure.
to
No,
me.
it happens, of course, especially before people actually do die permanently.
Yeah.
They may see a loved one or even a deity, according to their belief, before they die.
Well, also what I learned some years ago is most spirits will come and be at their own funeral.
Oh, I'm sure.
So when I go to a funeral, I look for
Right.
them. You know
Yes,
what I mean? I
yes,
look
yes.
for 'em.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
always there.
They're there. Of course, they're going to be sticking around. I want to see who came,
Right.
know.
Right.
Somebody's asking, who's going to pay for this shindig?
Yeah, right. You know, so, but yeah, and everyone who went over and touched the other side, everybody came back gifted, though. You know, truly.
Right.
Now, did you feel you were gifted before that?
Well,
You
as a
said
child,
something
I had a
as a
couple of
child.
things.
Yeah, you said
Yeah, I
something.
had.
Yeah, tell us about that.
The earliest thing that I remember is I had a cat that had gotten lost. I lived in Princess Bay,
Okay.
and it was winter time, and like my favorite cat, he used to sleep on the end of the bed.
All right.
You used to feel him sleeping on like my feet underneath
Yeah.
the covers. And one day the neighbor brings the cat over in a box. It was frozen in the shed. It got lost or whatever, and it died in the shed.
Oh boy.
So that night or the night after that, I'm talking I was maybe 11, 12. I went to sleep and I felt the cat sitting on my feet.
I've gotten that
And I
with my
remember
dog.
that.
Yes.
And even as a kid, I remember that. But I had we like I said, we lived in Princess Bay, out near. It was all farmland at one point.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I had a male that used to talk to me all the time.
Yeah.
And I used to tell my father, I have this guy talking to me, and you know, okay.
Did you see him?
I never saw him. However, in my book, there's a picture of me with my two dogs, and you can actually see the farmer's head
Yeah.
and his hat, and the head is on the ground. And I said, I didn't see this till years later.
Yeah.
I said, there's the farmer. That it looks actually like the Scarecrow from The Wizard of Oz.
Huh.
So I've had a lot of physical stuff happen to me, like when we talk about, you know,
Yeah.
the other side and you know, how easy it is to communicate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All it is dimensions that are collapsed on top of each other. So I call it like a glass ceiling, where they're just looking in. And
Like a being in a fishbowl.
like being in a fishbowl, and they, you know, they don't always look in. They just we're moving at a slower vibration. They're moving at a higher
Right.
vibration.
Yeah. Right.
And mediums, when they do a reading or they try to connect, and the spirit world will lower their vibrations, and the medium will raise his or
Yeah.
hers,
Or hers.
and then they'll be able to connect.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened, and I know this for a fact because I have seen the other side, and it's a replica world of really where we live now.
Yeah.
We're not balls of energy floating around like people
Think, right?
think or write about, and all of, you know. I mean, I've seen clips of it, you know, 2 or 3 seconds of what you know what they do. But they'll, for example, I did a reading last week, and
They're telling me that that's parallel worlds.
it's
It-
it's like a parallel world, exactly.
See, those are parallel worlds. You are spirit.
Right.
You are spirit. You are those balls
Right.
and things, but that's at a higher vibration.
At a higher vibration.
Okay, but that is a parallel world because we run every second of your life runs concurrent parallel.
Right.
So, what happened? Oh, I should shut that off. What happened as a kid, okay, is running those experiences. What happened as a young adult,
Right.
as an adult, as an adolescent, as a toddler, as an adult, as a senior. You know what I'm saying? Is all running concurrent.
Right.
Okay, so it's parallel worlds. It's true.
Right.
Has anybody watched this show called Counterpart? It's a new show. It's on Showtime.
No, I haven't.
Fascinating. Same exact scenario. Somehow this group of scientists got together, and the one was experimenting, and it created a wormhole basically. But they show it as like stairwell, and then there's you go to the other stairwell. But there's parallel worlds, and they say talk about meeting their other. Their other,
doppelganger?
yeah, like parallel Earth 1, Earth 2, and so forth. And it's very fascinating because they're dealing with, let's call it the CIA or the FBI. You know, I mean, I don't remember what they called it, the agency, but they would exchange ideas, and the people would crisscross, and there were spies going back and forth. It's a fascinating show. And another one that talks about this, if you haven't seen it, is The Flash, of all things.
The Flash, the guy who runs fast.
Yeah. He has a group of scientists he's been working with, and they've discovered something like 322 parallel worlds where all these spirits interact. Now, I would totally believe it. I mean,
Doesn't matter. He's very fast. He can go through all of them.
right? He's an exception, really. But I mean, I find it fascinating that this is coming to light in these stories that people can understand, because it's when you get a whole storyline like that, I think it starts to awaken people to.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, this exists.
Right. Well, are you familiar with the movie and book called Heaven is for Real?
Yes.
And that little boy, he was 4. He's 19 now. But he was 4 years old at this time. He ended up having his appendix out. And while he was on the operating table, he had a visit with Jesus and the angels.
Mm-hmm.
And later on, when it all came out, because the parents didn't have any idea that he had this experience until he started talking about it, and he did say, somebody said to him, so, well, what's heaven like, if you saw heaven? Oh, it's just like here, except better. So, but the way you say it, like a parallel world,
Yeah.
that's probably it.
That's
like that.
well,
Now, that wasn't the same boy who, I think that this story with the boy where he got backed over by his father or something.
No, this is different.
And
This
met
boy
up-
had appendicitis.
Okay, because the boy I'm talking about is the one that met up with the artist with the picture of Jesus.
No, that was the same one.
Oh, the
though.
same one.
Yeah, because at the end of this movie, it shows that picture
Okay.
that he identified as Jesus, and the little girl in
Okay.
Peru had painted it, and the
Australia,
people were
wasn't it?
sending.
No, I thought it was.
Australia.
Yeah, Australia. The
I
girl.
thought.
Akane,
Oh,
yeah.
I don't. Well, then
Yeah.
it might be a different girl
It might be
doing
two. It might be
Might
two
be two
similar
different people, because this
stories.
girl was
Yeah.
in Peru. She was 8 years old at the time. The boy was 4, and
She's not the painter, right?
the 8-year-old in Peru, who's now like 23.
It sounds like another parallel world thing. Where they're
Maybe,
the same
maybe.
scenario.
Tune in for this
Maybe.
show
But
next month.
People were sending pictures to the father of different pictures. Yeah, how Jesus is
And they
depicted.
recognize Jesus?
And well, what happened was the boy would say, "No, that's not him. That's not him." When that picture came through, he said, "That's him."
Okay.
So
I
he
get it.
identified him. So
Right.
I really believe that that's what Jesus really looks like.
Well,
'Cause the boy identified him.
When you gave me that picture, the first thing, what did I say to you? Where'd you get this picture of Kenny Loggins? Mm-hmm. He looks just like Kenny Loggins from back in the 70s. You know, I have him on my phone. Well, it's off now.
It's interesting, though, with movies like that and stories like that. Obviously, when everybody dies, not all of us are going to meet Jesus.
No, well, it depends on your own belief.
Right, but even so, the millions of people that pass away,
Yeah.
it would be like meeting the President of the United States and dying in Staten Island. This is what I feel.
Yeah.
I feel that everybody goes to, you're going to meet your family members.
Right.
You're going to meet your friends. Everybody's there.
Yeah.
You're just going to go into your other, I think that's like an exceptional story.
Oh, yes,
where
it
he
is.
saw Jesus.
Yeah.
I remember that in the
Yes,
movie.
he said he
saw
sat
the
on
white
Jesus'
robe.
lap, and the angels were singing to him.
Right.
Jesus loved the little
he-
children of the world.
Oh, of course he does.
He's
He
here
loves
tonight,
it.
you know.
Hey, I'm sure he
Jesus
is.
is,
I'm
yeah.
sure he
Did you get a
is.
ticket?
He rode up here in the car with me.
He rode up here on the
Talking
car
all
with
way
you?
He did. He rode up here in the car with me.
No,
So Kenny
really.
Loggins was in the car
Yeah.
with you.
No, I'm
Okay.
sure he's here too, because well, he's omnipresent. He's everywhere.
Yeah.
Just you know what I mean. But
Yeah.
and
So
and,
are you
know,
when you cross over?
Oh yeah, that's true. That's what they say. That we
You know,
become
you're not in bondage
omnipresent.
of your own body when you do that. You know, you're out of your body.
Right.
You
You
know,
can
and
do
you have
anything you want, go
you have
anywhere you
basically a
want.
glorified body, which is a spiritual body.
Right.
You know, so
Yes.
you don't have to
Well, I
eat.
think you evolve into that, though, no?
Yeah, well, eventually, put it this way. Depending on your stature here at this time,
Right.
will depend on where, if you repeat.
Right.
I know I'm not coming back. I'm done.
How do you
Okay?
know?
How do I know? Because I'm done. Okay, I'm done.
Well, you
All
know,
right.
people have like sometimes even millions of lifetimes.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm told that I was told by Spirit that I am in number 138, and I said, really? And they said, yeah, you don't like it over here too much. You spend most of your time over there.
Well, yeah, that's the whole
A lot
point.
of people do.
What,
Yeah.
Whatever you believe, I mean, if you're going to believe you're going to go to hell, and you perpetuate that thought in your mind, well, guess what? When you die, you will have a visitor,
Well, it's
and you'll
true.
be right there.
Well, you know,
You create your own.
you
create
do.
your own afterlife. You really do. By your
Most
words,
people
you're
have
condemned.
a good experience with a near-death experience. Most people have a good one.
Most people come back
But
from
there are
near-death.
people who have come back and said they went to hell.
Oh, yeah, and they
Because
warn people. Yeah.
they've had that fire and brimstone beat into their brains. So they expected, they actually perpetuated the thought, and they empowered that thought so they would repeat that and manifest it. So what's waiting for them is exactly that.
Well, also, we know the kind of life we lead. Because even Pope John Paul II said, and I had the articles, I don't know where they
Paul
are.
and Ringo?
Yeah, right. Anyway, he said, when we die, God does not judge us. We judge ourselves.
We
Yeah,
do
right.
judge
Because
ourselves.
we know the kind of life we led and we know where we're supposed to be going.
But see, also there's a thing that people go to the vibration where they exist. You know, the further out, you're further away from God, the lower your vibration. See, and I agree with you to a degree. However, I do think that if someone's vibration, if they're an evil person, that they could go down to the lower,
That's right.
dimensions and
Yes.
experience that. But
Yes.
they were meant to come back and tell the truth about that.
About
And
that.
sometimes it changes them too.
Oh, of course it does, because now
Some
they
people
know.
it does not, some people
you,
it doesn't.
you
but
create your own existence. If you believe that you are going to go to the other side, and like Joe was saying, a parallel world, whatever it is, then that's where you will go.
Yeah.
You will go to where, like Sis says, where your vibration brings you. I know my vibration is very high. I know hers is very high. All right. That I know for myself, I'm not coming back here. That's done. Done.
A lot
Okay.
of people say that. They say, one of
No,
my
no, no,
girlfriends
no,
said
no,
that.
no,
She
no.
says, this is hell.
No,
I'm
no.
never coming back here.
No. Those are people basically who live here and who put up with all the nonsense of the 3D. Okay, we're not in 3D, and I don't do that. I don't do that. I will not ever have somebody browbeat me through an organized religion, telling me that brimstone, fire, and hell. This one said that. How come God in the first book was a bloodthirsty God, and God in the second book is a loving God?
He evolved.
He did evolve. But to the point of it is, if you go and say that to them, all right?
Oh, they won't. They'll think you're nuts.
Yeah,
They
they
don't
get out of
get
your
it.
mind.
Well, because they just haven't opened their mind enough. But you know what? There was a movie about that, what you're talking about here. Robin Williams was in it, and his wife died.
Oh, I remember
And
that.
she committed suicide,
Yes.
and he went in searching her, and she
That's
was
right.
deep into that.
That's right.
Like she was drowning in this black goo.
That's right.
And with all the bones and everything, and he searched all through her and found her through
well, he
the
went
universe.
to hell to find her.
Do you remember the name of that movie? Because
I'm
that's
trying-
an old movie.
I remember that movie.
Yeah, Robin Williams was
Robin
in
Williams?
it. It was an amazing
yes.
movie. At the time, I didn't totally understand it, but we're going back 20, 30 years. But I
Yes,
mean, you can Google
yes.
Robin Williams for his movies and see
Yeah, you'd
if
have
you
to
can
say
still
it.
watch it. 'cause
I
it was
remember that movie too,
interesting.
but I don't remember the name.
Yeah.
Me either. Joe, when you, at what point did you write, here's Joe's book, Running with the Bulls. At what point did you decide to write the book? Right after the Trade Center or the heart attacks or what it was?
I always talked about writing a book
Okay.
because I had kind of unique experiences on the job.
All right.
So they say like every cop can write a book and different, but my stories were different. I started out in Florida as a police officer. I was actually a fireman before that, then a sheriff's deputy, and I got involved with the Donnie Brasco arrest
Oh, yeah.
from when they made the movie Donnie Brasco.
Yeah.
And then the arrest of Sheikh Rahman when they locked him up in the
blind guy?
Citadel precinct.
Yeah.
So I had all kind of these interesting stories to tell. So I figured I'll write the book
So
about
you're just
that.
going to write a cop book,
I was going to write a cop book,
the experiences of a cop.
right?
Yeah.
And it evolved.
And then it evolved. And then I had the World Trade Center happen.
Were you down there when that happened?
I wasn't at the site. No. I was home, and then I went down there later that afternoon.
Yeah.
But and then I basically added on the whole paranormal back into the book.
When that happened, when you started working down at the Fresh Kills,
Right.
when you were in there, your first time you went there, did the experiences happen when you came home? Did they start right away?
Well, before I had the heart attack, I was working 4 in the afternoon till 4 in the morning every night, 6 nights a week
At the site?
at the landfill.
Yeah.
No, at the landfill, That's where we went through the entire World Trade Center. We looked for personal effects. We looked for body parts, anything that we could find. Cops' guns, fire department gear, boots, helmets.
I know.
So we went through everything that they put into trucks at Ground Zero. They transported to us, and we went through it like this.
Yeah.
So I was in charge. I was a supervisor at night. So I would go from sifter to sifter to sifter. So in the one section of the landfill was all of the fire trucks and
Yeah, I saw them.
police cars and ambulances, EMS. And I would go into these trucks at night, which were demolished. And at one point, and I remember the truck, I saw the guy sitting in the back of the truck. So I got up and I walked out and I drove back to the command center, and I was another sergeant working there. This is maybe 2 o'clock in the morning now. And I said, I got to tell you this. And he goes, I didn't want to hear it. That's why I keep the shades down, because people knock on the windows up here. I see things. So there's a lot of weird things going on up there to begin
Yeah,
with.
they're saying that they didn't know they were dead.
Right, a lot of them didn't know.
They
right.
didn't know they were dead.
Right.
No, who
They were
expected
wondering why they were there.
Right, right.
But they didn't know why they were dead.
If you
That's
see,
like
That particular truck
Yeah.
that you saw, that guy, was that 5, Rescue 5?
wasn't 5, no.
No.
But I have an interest. Well, Rescue 5, one of the firemen actually connected with me later on,
Okay.
and I was able to identify. I'm not going to say his name, but I was able to identify
Yeah.
him
I was seeing 5.
through a nickname.
Yeah.
In other words, you saw an actual person sitting in
I
the
saw
truck,
actual people sitting there on either side.
dead.
It was what they call a squad company.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly what they do, but there's long benches and they sit inside this
Yeah,
truck.
yeah.
So
And
you
they were
see-
actual people, not spirits.
No, it was spirit.
They were spirit,
Oh, they were spirit.
right?
But you
So they
saw
were-
them
they
sitting
were
there.
transparent.
In other words, as they didn't know that they didn't belong there
I
anymore.
just saw them. They were going about what they would do. It was only whenever I see something like that, it's 2 or 3 seconds. So it's
Right,
boom,
it's a
boom,
flash,
boom,
right.
and it's almost like I'm
And they
not
disappear.
there. Right,
Yeah.
and then right.
Well, that tells me you have psychic sight then. I mean, some people just get things they hear or whatever,
Right.
but you see too. Well, you know what that reminds me of? That's perfect. And for other people who want to see this for themselves, Ghost Whisperer did the same thing, what you were getting. There
Yeah.
was a big plane that crashed in one of their shows, and all
Yes,
the people
yes,
that were on
yes.
that
I
show,
remember that
they
particular
don't,
episode.
They didn't know they were
They
dead.
didn't know.
Because it happened too quick.
And the stewardess also. Remember, the stewardess was riding with her.
So, this is why I like to mention movies and books and things, because then people can go watch it to get
An
a
idea.
closer idea,
Yeah.
So
closer
long as you
grip to
don't
it.
mention that one movie.
Oh,
Boy.
oh, don't get me started,
What a
or I'll be talking
stinker.
about it.
That thing was 2 hours of torture.
Jupiter Ascending. My guides have had me watch that at least 15 times.
I'd rather watch the reruns of the Beverly Hillbillies.
But
my
you know what?
God.
What
That's-
this reminds me of? Remember, some years ago, and we've done it every year since.
What's that? When we passed them?
When one day I was just at home and I was quiet and I could hear things, and a ghost came to me and said, "Help me." And I said, "What do you need?" And they said, "We're from 9/11. We're stuck. We're stuck, and we can't cross over." So the show was just in, I don't know, a week or something. So I had planned that Tommy and I talked and we agreed that we would cross over on, because it was right around 9/11, those beings that were stuck. Now they told me it was going to be 87 or 97 people.
Yeah, all right.
Well, when we started, oh my God, what wound up happening was Spirit had set it up for all the people that wanted to go would go. And we were both being shown different visions. And we even had, it showed up on the TV screen where a spirit had his hand on our hands
Yeah, on the table.
over it on the table because our hands were joined. And I saw like
It was like the
power-
Exodus. You remember the Exodus when they left Egypt? I mean, they were just going. They were going like crazy.
Yeah, he was kind of seeing it like a highway with
You
motorcycles,
ever see the
different
highway in
colors
California
going through.
when it's going to show you the streaking lights? The
Right.
red, and that's what I was saying is going. She saw it like the doorways on the Coliseum, and that would also key into what you were saying before
The
about
different
the different
vibrations?
vibrations and the different levels.
And spirits were going shoo, 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 whatever door that they were meant to go through for their vibration was going through. So then we carried that energy for 3 days, and it was exhausting after 3 days, wasn't it?
We couldn't forget about it. We were like dead tired.
Yeah, and then, so we did it every year since then, and every year there's a ton of spirits still crossing over.
Well, you got to
Not
remember
From
when
9/11?
we
No,
when
no,
we when we
it's
just
did that.
spirits.
When we did that, we not only crossing those spirits and anybody else who wanted to go, but we were crossing all this. You know how much history is on this island? I mean, for every square inch of this island, somebody's buried over the millennia.
It was like, like you say about being in the fishbowl with the glass thing, they were watching us, knowing we were discussing it, because whenever I would teach a class or whatever, I would always see us being in an arena with all the people watching, and they were learning too, and it was kind of like that, so they knew we were going to cross people over.
Yeah.
So they took advantage of the opportunity and set up this huge, I mean, it must have been millions and millions and millions, But anyway, so yeah, that happened for 9/11 because that was right around what you were doing, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't want to cross over either. I can only talk about what I've seen practically.
Right.
What I know. I mean,
Some are afraid.
some are afraid.
because-
Some of them just like being here.
Yeah, but you
Well,
know,
they
you know what they're
do-
afraid of, Joe? I'm going to tell you what it is. All their life growing up, they were afraid of damnation.
Right.
Okay, they were afraid to be judged.
Yeah.
Okay, and even when we tell them, a lot of them stay behind because they're still afraid of the judgment.
Well,
There
they're
is
also
no
afraid
judgment.
because of the lives they lead sometimes.
Well, listen, you can remember God created everybody, the criminals, the crazy people,
Yes.
the ones that do the horrible things, the
Right.
people who run the countries. He created them all.
That's right.
They're pawns in a big game, and it's their time to play this part. Okay?
Yeah.
They go to the other side, we start all over again.
Well, also, there's a lot of atheists that are afraid to cross over because they didn't believe, and now they were afraid to
Now
face
they're
God.
afraid.
Because there was also a book by a lady named Betty Eady called Embraced by the Light. She had a near-death experience. I read the book, and she said that there were a lot of, she went through the tunnel during her experience, and she said that in the tunnel there were a lot of people holding back because of the fact that they were afraid to go and face God for whatever
they were
reason.
lingering because they were under the understanding, because of their upbringing, their religious upbringing, that they were going for judgment. Okay?
Well, yeah,
to
that's
judge
part of it,
anyone
too.
is to
That's
judge
some of 'em.
yourself.
Yeah.
That's why you judge yourself when you
That's
go
it,
to the
you
other
judge
side.
yourself, that's right.
All right.
I read an interesting thing. Brian was showing me something that you wrote or talked about one time, and it talked about how you have a destiny set in stone or whatever. And I mean, not those exact words, but
Right.
I have found that to be true myself, that everybody comes in, for those who don't know it, with a contract of what you're going to do, the lessons you're going to learn.
Yeah.
And people don't know this. So, and it's true, when you keep trying to do something over and over and over again, you keep butting your head against the wall. Maybe it's God telling you or Spirit telling you, you're not going there. You're not doing that, right? Because your angels and guides, which everybody has them, will always try to steer you back, even if it means having an accident or something to get on the path.
Yeah.
So that's so true too, and people don't realize this.
That's
you know?
true.
Like you have for example, I was told by 3 different psychic mediums that I wasn't going to go any further than sergeant on the police department. This is when I was maybe 10 years on a job. Maybe I was a sergeant at the time. They said, you're not going any further. It doesn't matter what you do. 3 different people in 3 different areas of the country told me this. And then a couple of them told me, I see you working with tractors and cranes. So I said, well, maybe when I retire, I'll be working at an industrial site. And 2 of them told me that, tractors and cranes. When I went to the landfill,
Tractors
I
and
said,
cranes.
there's my tractors and cranes. Had I been a lieutenant, I probably would have not been
No, you wouldn't have
transferred
been
there
there.
because the command
You would be the
support
one
didn't,
telling the sergeant to go there and be in
Right, they
charge.
wanted sergeants there where lieutenants were,
Yeah.
in the office or whatever. There was one
Yeah.
lieutenant, there was several sergeants. So everything's predetermined.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about
But
it.
it's not God making you doing it. It's you
You
saying,
doing
reviewing your life and when you cross over and saying, with your angels and so forth, I need to relearn. I need to learn that lesson. So you plan it, and God signs off on it. And some may say, you bit off more than I think you bit off more than you could chew, and they'll say, no, no, no. And then they're the ones, and a lot of times, that commit suicide because they have bitten off more than they can actually handle in this life. But there is, for those of you who don't know, you can amend portions of your contract. But that's
you can extend your contract.
yeah, it's an
Yeah, you
amendment
can.
to your contract.
Yes,
but you
yes.
have to go before the board and before God and the councils and so forth. So that's something like if life gets too hard for these people that are, let's say, suiciders, and they can actually, call on God or Jesus or whomever their deity is.
And change the plan.
Yeah, and change the
But
plan.
how do they answer this then?
Yeah.
A young couple has a child die.
Okay.
What kind of lesson could possibly be learned from that?
I
Let's-
think I
wait,
can
let me tell you
answer
this.
that.
I know the answer. We all know the
We all
answer. Go
know.
ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, what happens is, in the before time, before we come here,
Right.
we make a contract of what our life is going to be like and what we're going to do, what we're not going to do in this. And a lot of times we will volunteer to experience something tragic like that because it furthers our vibration, makes our soul get closer to God when it's our time to go back again. Because there's like 12 tiers of heaven.
Only in this
There's also-
universe, honey.
yeah,
Only
Really?
in this
Okay, well,
universe.
let's say that there is.
Okay.
And every time you volunteer to have an experience on this earth that is a tragedy of some sort or something that's really, really sad, it furthers your spirit so that when your time comes, you will be able to go higher and be closer to God. And so people do volunteer for tragic things to happen
That's
so
true.
that they
But
can.
they're not aware of it
There-
in this
there-
life.
No, you're not aware of it, and you're
So-
still feeling the pain, the
Right,
tragedy, the
right.
horror that comes with something like that.
There's this story that Dr. Wayne Dyer tells. It's called the Shia story. Shia was a kid who was just didn't conform. He was slow and everything else like that. And he went to a school in Brooklyn. I think the school was by my baseball organization I used to run in Brooklyn. And Shia, was walking with his father one day past. It had to be around 18th Avenue because that's where the field was, or maybe it could have been St. A's Field, my own field, and because we used to have them play there. And he said, "Do you think they'll let me play?" So the father went and spoke to the kid because I think we can get him in. So they got him in and they put him out in center field. And the kid played. He came up. They're down by a couple of runs and he's coming to bat. Okay, I'm cutting the story a little short because we only have a short time. Anyway, he comes to bat and he swings at the ball awkwardly. Never did it before, and it was strike one. And one of his teammates got up, stood with him at the plate, held the bat with him. The pitcher threw the ball, lofted it so he can hit it, and he hit a slow roller right back to the pitcher. The pitcher picks up the ball, could have easily thrown him out by a mile, takes the ball and launches it over the right fielder's head. Okay. They kept on doing it. They run at first, run Shire, so Shire runs to first. They didn't even know what first was. And they come, go to second, go to second. So by the time he got to second base and started turning, the entire both teams were on the field running behind him. Go home, go home, go home. And what he had done with those boys, those 18 boys, right, had made this little boy the hero, and they carried him on his shoulder. And it was such an enjoyable moment. The father said at one of these dinners at the Schuss Center, he goes, on that day, those 18 boys, okay, found their God self.
That's right. That's
Okay,
beautiful.
it's
really.
a beautiful story that they did for this young man.
Yeah.
And when you hear Wayne Dyer say it in its entirety, it'll bring tears to your eyes
Yeah.
because it's such a beautiful story. It's the way we react to a kid with maybe Down syndrome. It's the way we react. That child doesn't
That's
have
right.
Down system for him. So he doesn't have ADD for him. He has ADD for you. Because it's the way you react to that child that makes the difference. All right? And people don't understand that. They see that, they're scared to death that this is going to happen in their family. Well, guess what? You do that, you program it, it's going to happen.
Well, it's true. It's
Do
like
not-
owning something.
Do not ever accept pain and suffering. You are a child of God. Okay? And as a child of God, all right, you were endowed with every single thing that God has in himself. Jesus said more than once, didn't I tell you that you were God? And more things than I do and far greater things that I do, you shall do.
And suffering
Okay.
is optional.
Well, that's like I said, you program your own problems. You know, you go to a doctor, and the doctor says, you need an operation, you have, I don't know,
Whatever.
a heart problem, say, for instance. Okay? If you empower that thought, you will own that thought and you will have a heart problem. Okay? And it's not that it can't be a genetic thing, it could be. But if you empower it, you're going to be complicit in your own demise.
You
Period.
know, there's so many things to talk about regarding this, really.
There is.
Really is.
There is.
But one of the things I wanted to address the child issue, and because people will say, why did that child die? He never committed a sin. What could he have done, right? Like that, like a young child, right?
Right.
Well, what I've heard and was told was, you know, it's the children who are very advanced who will come in. They've learned to work the system. They want to get in and out, learn their lesson, teach their lesson, and go back to where it's nice. You know,
Oh,
where
yeah,
it's
that's their
better.
contract. That's what
Yeah,
it
that's
was.
their contract. Now, for instance, let's say the parents, they chose them out of the soul group or whatever. So let's say the parents were mean, cruel people before, you know, and so it was put in their contract that they would have to learn compassion. They wanted to learn compassion and love. So here they love this child, right? And they love them so greatly, and then the child crosses over. Well, now they learn compassion. You see, so I mean, it's really hard on them, you know. But the child that came in was glad to get in and out real quick, you know. So that's my take on that too, because especially a baby. I mean, when a person has a child, you know, that's probably the closest thing you can ever feel.
Oh, sure. Of course.
know,
Well, that's the hardest thing to lose, too.
Yeah.
The hardest thing. Tell us, when you had your experience, what exactly did you see on the other side?
I see little things all the time. So I'll see people, faces, places. I mean, I can turn on either side of the fence that I want at any given time, especially if I'm doing a reading. A lot of my readings turn to be real time. And what I mean by that is, people I sat with last week, I was able to bring his mother in. And I'm not a medium where I'm going to say, I have an elderly person standing behind you and she's holding her chest. And it could be a mother figure or someone else. I don't do any of that. Mine's all survival evidence. So they're going to tell me their names eventually, or they're going to give me information that you're going to know right away.
That only he would know.
So when I started to tell this information to this person, he was talking about a church in Bay Ridge and an incident with the principal, and your mother was there, and it was something with a door, and it turned out he was locked inside the office of the church, and they had to call the principal to unlock the door. So that's how clearly I get it.
Oh,
That's
that's
how they talk to
wonderful.
me. Now,
Yeah.
she said to me, tell them about the cherries. So I said to him, what about the cherries? They're showing me cherries with the stems. So there's three of them sitting at the table.
Yeah.
So he says, I was with my daughter in Manhattan, and I bought her a bag of cherries yesterday with the stems. And I said, who? And it'll bounce.
Yeah.
I said, they show me loaves of Wonder Bread. And the woman said, my brother drove a truck for Wonder Bread for 30 years. So that's how clearly I get things.
That's wonderful.
Because they're right here. They're right here talking
Right.
to me.
Yeah.
And so I'll see things, especially if I fall asleep. If I fall asleep, you know, as you're falling asleep, the hypnagogic state,
Yeah.
No.
and then there's the, I can't recall the other, when you're waking up.
Beta and delta.
Right,
Beta
right.
and beta.
Yeah.
And I'll see things in those few seconds that are clearly not part of this world. And people will say to me, well, how do you think you're just not nuts?
No.
Well, I'll tell you why, because I'm a retired New York police sergeant, and I've spent a good part of my retirement, 15, 16 years now, talking about this, and people have come around. So all the skeptics that are out there,
Oh, yeah.
I've worked and worked and worked over the years of doing all these readings, thousands of readings. You know, and it's expanded. I've gotten on Coast to Coast Radio. I was a guest. Biography channel. So my story has gone on. My book did very
George
well.
Norrie. Yeah, George Norrie.
With George Norrie, right?
Yeah, he's good. He's good.
So, and I was on the segment with near-death experiences, actually. This Dr. Jeffrey Long had written the book on near-death. And, you know, they had everything.
You know, the clinical explanation is that the brain is dying, the oxygen's leaving the brain, and you're having hallucinations. That is pure general.
Right.
All right, but that's a scientific look at it.
Right.
You know, if they can see it, they can taste it, they can smell it. They go to their five senses, so they are dead wrong.
Well, it's everything's science, so that's the amazing thing here.
Well, science
it's really physics.
plays in.
It's molecules, the higher vibration, the lower vibration. That's why a ghost can pass through a door, because their vibration is quicker than the vibration of the door.
Yeah.
That's why you can see them. I've seen animals that have passed away that I had. Again, a number of times, but one that really stands out clear is a cat that had passed away, and it was very skinny when it died. We tried, you know, we tried until it was just finally we had to take her in.
Yeah.
And I was putting clothes into the laundry on my second floor of my house, not thinking about anything, and I looked down where my daughter's bedroom was, where the cat used to hang out in there all the time, and I see the cat sitting on the nightstand, as healthy as can be. And he looked at me, jumped down, and he walked right into the bed. So this is
He was
stuff
healthy and everything.
healthy and everything.
Yeah, 'cause you know what he
I've
said?
seen my dogs,
I saw
quick blips.
Well, sometimes I feel,
My
I have a
Jack
lot of
Russell-
dogs.
my
Sometimes I
Jack
feel
Russell-
like they might be getting up on the bed with me and
My
stuff
Jack
like
Russell
that.
used to come up on a Sunday morning. It was only like one day upstairs. Sunday morning, my wife would tell him, go upstairs and get Daddy. He'd come upstairs, he'd jump up on the bed. This dog would jump like a kangaroo. He'd jump on the bed, and he'd go behind me, he'd kick his nails, and he'd do this on the blanket to get his little niche. And then he would tuck under my back and cripple me for the day, but he would do that.
Right.
And a lot of times I'll be upstairs and I feel the bed, I feel that scratching going on. So I said, okay, I know who that is. You know, and you see animals, you know, you see your pets, you know.
Because they're back home already. So they're back living with you. They're already in the house. You just have to be able to, or have somebody in spirit show them to you.
I had,
I agree with that.
I had
Yeah.
a medium. She's very good. Her name is Brent Atwater. She's online, and she's an animal communicator, all of that. And when I lost my Cassie, she was 3 years old, bled one day out of her mouth, threw up, was dead that day. So it was traumatic because I just lost Jack. I only had, you know, it was 1 year in between, had her for the next 3, and she dies.
Yeah.
So it was really bad. And she was telling me, you know, don't, even with Jack, you know, don't act like the dog died, just change form. All right? And I did it. He says, call the dog. I take the dog with me in the truck. It's not there that you can see, but the dog's there. And I know because he validates. I'm driving on the thing and I'm talking to him. I'm petting him. He's, you know, I'm just petting the air basically. Well, right in front of me is a tractor trailer with a flatbed. And on the little piece of metal in the back, there's a sticker that looked exactly like my Jack Russell. It was a Jack Russell. You know? Anytime I would think of him, Jack Russell pops up somewhere.
Right.
You
There you
know,
go.
He validates.
Sure.
I'll tell you what, just so people understand a little better, when I was 18 months, I had an out-of-body experience. I got a piece of steel in my eye because my father was a craftsman and he was working, and I walked by, got it in. So they rushed me to the hospital, and I had all these doctors and nurses over me, and they were trying to get the thing, and I was squalling, and I couldn't reach the edge of the bed. And next thing I know, I was up in the corner, and I had an adult's comprehension. And I'm thinking, looking around, I'm saying, who's that baby? Oh my God, it's me. And it was clear as day. To this day, I remember it, right? And so I realized ever since that, since it was so clear all my life, that we exist outside of this physical body. You know, we exist.
You knew it early on.
At a very early age, you know. And another thing that happened that I found quite interesting is we have a big antique mirror that was my husband's
yeah.
3 aunts that owned that. It went down through the family for generations. And when we were moving it, we wanted to move that by hand. So we had put it in the back of my SUV at the time. And as clear as day, I could see the 3 aunts in there smiling at me. You know, it was a portal. You know, there's portals
Yeah,
everywhere. And so that was very interesting. You know, so there's been a lot of experiences that I've come across, like you're talking about too. You know, so it's just a matter of being open to it. A lot of
It is.
people are closed. You know
A
what
lot
I
of-
mean?
well, that's why I think I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So I'll give you direct hits. You have no answers for. You know, one guy came down. I was reading his wife because I read people in their individual homes, and he came down and he said, "I don't believe in this crap. This is all."
They all
As
say that.
he's in the refrigerator.
Uh,
So I said to him, I said, "Who's Charlie Chan?" So he looked at me white-faced, and he said, "My mother used to call me Charlie Chan."
Oh, that's funny.
There you go.
So there's a direct,
Something that he couldn't
What-
deny.
No,
Exactly.
but that there was basically them to you validating.
right, exactly,
You know, the validation is what convicts you.
exactly.
All right. If you're a non-believer and you have something happen, that's synchronistic. It's validation
Right.
that what we've been saying or what you've been talking about is right. And when they get convicted by that, it changes their whole demeanor.
Yeah.
It does.
Oh, yeah, there are people that go from non-believer to
That's
believer.
right.
Yeah, when all they need is one experience. I'll
That's
give
right.
you mine from my brother. This was hysterical because
Yeah.
he's really locked into Christian dogma, okay? And
Christian dogma.
yeah, he is. He
Okay.
is. So anyway, long story short, he went out of town. He wanted me to feed his cats. This is going back some years, and I realized that I didn't have his key on my key ring. But I didn't want to go back and forth because it was too, you know, it was a pain in the butt, right? So he had one of those keypad things. Now, of course, that's a secret, but Spirit gave me the numbers. When I called
Really?
him back and got in the house,
Oh, no.
I said, "Don't worry." I said, "I'm in the house." He just, "How did you get in the house?" I said, "Because Spirit gave me the numbers." He just about died. I am telling you the truth. Like you try to keep a secret from somebody who has information that we
Right.
get, right? And then all you're going to do is ask your guides. I mean, my God, you know, and they don't think that this is real until something like that happens.
Yeah.
He's a believer after that, trust me.
Uh-huh.
I don't think you're going to get lottery numbers that way.
No,
No, that doesn't work.
Yeah,
Somebody has said that to me, Joe. They said, turn
Yeah.
around and say, goes, well, if you're
Reiki
such a,
doesn't work on
my
a
wife
slot
said it to
machine
me.
either.
If you're such a magical man, he goes, how come we don't win lotto? I said, is that what you want?
That's
Is
not
that
you.
what you want to do?
right.
I said, you want to win lotto?
That's
That's
not
going to
what
make
it's
your life
about.
better? You know? They said, that's not what it's about. It's not what I do.
Right.
Yes.
You know?
No. I mean, that's for self-glorification
Anyway,
and for
we got
riches.
3 or 4. How much time we got?
Agreed.
3 minutes? We got 4 minutes.
Yeah.
We got 4. Everybody's waving to me like this.
Yeah.
What's the matter? Nobody has thumbs? Anyway. Any final words, guys? Chris? Make it under 5 minutes, will you please?
Yeah, I will. No, well, you know, we have to realize that we are spiritual beings
We are
having a
spirit
human
having a human
experience.
experience. Exactly.
And that's
right.
really what it all boils down to.
Yes.
And that when we go to the other side, we go, our spirit goes, and we live, and according to that little boy, and I believe him, it's like here, but better.
Okay.
Right.
Like it, but better. Joe? Parting shot?
All I can say is I can only attest to what I've seen and the information I've gotten. And in the words of one guy after a reading, he said to me, "There's no way
Yeah.
you could have given me this information. You must have Googled me."
Yeah, I heard people
Yeah.
say that too.
And I
That's,
said to
Yeah.
him,
that's the latest
"Did you
thing.
ever Google yourself? There's nothing there."
Yeah.
No.
Well, let me, before we get off the air, when you were a rookie, okay, if you would have been able to see somebody tell your story, who was not you, obviously, to that rookie cop, how would he reacted?
Thought he was insane, I bet.
Either that or he was in the gin mill down the block.
Yeah, I kind of believed in all this stuff anyway. I didn't really, you know, when I was growing up, just like we're
Yeah.
probably all about
You
the
had
same
a
age.
knowing.
Yeah, you really didn't even
Give it a second
think about
thought.
it,
Yeah,
or,
yeah.
or
Right.
see it on TV, or
All I
Right.
knew as
Everything's
all
changed
I
now,
knew
it's
as
a
a
lot
kid
more.
is that everything I didn't want to happen, because I concentrated the thought onto it, manifested.
right.
So when I learned to reverse that process, then
That's
that
right.
didn't work. All right, we have 2 minutes. We got to thank our sponsor. Sis, you want to say something? That's
Well,
enough.
we-
All right.
No, because it's a story. So go ahead. We'll say goodbye. And
All
if
right,
we
we're
have
going to see
spare
you bye.
time.
All right, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Antonio's Pork Store in Tottenville and Aardvark Pest Control in Great Kills. Thank them for our feast. Okay, and our crew, Brian in the booth, wave. There he goes. All right, Richie, Tracy, Chris is supposed to be out there. Chris, wave to Chris. Okay, now you can say your story.
Yes, and our viewers in the TV camera there.
In the TV camera?
Well,
They're
you know
so
what I mean, our
small.
TV audiences. But I've been seeing something that's new to me. Now, I know that everything is moving atoms and cells and everything, and even this table isn't real. But sometimes I start to see the furniture starting to shift now and
Oh,
everything.
no.
I see the
So-
grains move.
Yeah, it's like
You ever
phase
see that?
shifting.
You ever watch a tree, you see the leaves, then all of a sudden it becomes a pattern and it's just doing stuff, you see faces in it?
Oh, yeah, well, the tree spirits are alive, you know.
And that was before I was smoking. No, I was on the kill.
But you know, I never experienced that until recently. So this is. I wake up and I'm like, ooh, okay, I'm coming back from somewhere else. Look, there's the bureau. Ooh, it's phase shifting, forming into more solid molecules. This is kind of new.
So let's all know. What do we got, Rich? Tracy, we got 1 minute. Oh, he's giving me the signal that means to
Okay,
stretch it
so
out.
what do you think about
Oh,
that?
that
That's
means
weird.
wrap it up.
That's
It
a
is.
weird
Or wrap
feeling.
it up.
It really is.
But in essence,
This is
that's
stretch,
really what
right?
That's right.
No.
is happening,
I know.
right?
I know, but it's bizarre.
Joe,
You know?
thanks for being on. Chris, thanks for stepping in.
My pleasure.
Okay, we will do this again next month on the third Friday of the month. So look forward to who we have.
Ancestral iridology. That's that fascinating thing I told you about.
What she said.
Yeah, well, that is fascinating subject. Let's hope it all comes together.
Okay.
Because that you will find very interesting.
Okay.
See you next time.
Everybody wave goodbye.
Good night.
Goodbye. Goodbye. That was good.